Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fantasy Fiends podcast, where we talk about everything fantasy. Today, we have our guest author, the fabulous Raven Oak, who is the author of the awesome book, A Maskin's Blood. And we also have Andy Peliquin, who is the author of the gruesome the Last Bucellari series. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
We could even call that macabre, right? That was our word of the day.
That's good. Macabre. Yes. So,
what does that mean, Stevie? What does the word macabre mean?
Well, it is a art form, and that's actually, I was looking for a new painting for my room, and I wanted something dark and gruesome, because you know, Andy, you and I love apparently Raven does too, from hearing about her books. So I wanted a dark painting, an actual original painting, and there's a website called macabrepaintings.com. I was like, that's an awesome word. So, but it's also an adjective, which stands, it's an adjective meaning gruesome and horrifying, ghastly and horrible. And yes, I love it. I love it. So the first time I heard that word was actually in English class, which Raven knows a lot because she was a past English teacher, and it was reading Edgar Allan Poe. So
love Edgar Allan Poe.
Really?
Yeah. No English teacher. Every English teacher likes him, right?
I've met a few that didn't, which was just kind of disturbing to me. I was like, isn't that like disliking Shakespeare?
We should hang them.
We should.
Yeah. Wow, we're a very dark threesome over here. Probably threesome wasn't the right word. Macabre. So, all right.
A devil's three-way.
That's good too. So Raven, do you want to start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a science fiction and fantasy author who lives in the Seattle area, and I've done a couple different audio video things with Andy, so I'm pretty familiar with his macabre series as well. And I really enjoy diving into a little bit of the darker topics and trying to figure out what makes characters and villains tick at a deeper level, I think, than some people who write higher fantasy that's lighter and fluffy and unicorns. That's not me.
Oh, yeah. I could say the same about myself. I was just telling somebody else that I refuse to write a vampire romance.
Oh, please don't.
Not because I despise the genre or something, but I couldn't. I want to say lower myself to it. I like to write to market, but I won't go that far. So, Andy, you with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, just posting to the Facebook page.
So I need to do that too.
Our 4 followers know where to find us. I posted it to the Fantasy Fiends Facebook page.
Okay, I've done it to my Twitter. All right,
well,
so
hopefully I'll get some
one day
people
we're gonna get
that will.
super good and organized.
That would be cool. Yeah, actually, I want to go check this out too. So, Andy, I don't know if you knew this, but every time before I am doing this show with you, I've like left the gym and I'm like jittery from my pre-workout. So like I'm sitting here, my heart's racing.
Yeah, you got a lot of caffeine.
And a cup of coffee too. It's bad. It's bad.
That's not the way. I mean, my pre-workout supplements usually like dead by the end of my workout. I burn through all the energy.
Yeah, I got you. So, Raven, have you seen King Arthur yet?
I have not.
Okay, well, you should.
I have such a long list.
You liked it?
Oh my gosh. But yes, it is on my watch list.
Well, I know Andy was telling me to go watch it, and I watched it, and I was gripping my girlfriend's hand so tight, my knuckles are white. The action is so good, but Andy's right, it doesn't follow the story of King Arthur at all, and it aggravated me a little bit, but the action made up for it. And I'm a big fan of, what is his name, Charlie Hunman?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. The handsome blonde guy. Let's just
Yeah.
call him handsome blonde guy.
Yeah. And what did you think of the construction of the movie, like from a writer's perspective? What did you think about the way they approached the sort of the not the hero's journey, the anti-hero's journey, the setbacks and the obstacles? What did you think of that whole construction?
Well, when I was watching it, I was drinking beer and probably too much beer, which, but it made the movie better. But it's definitely the classic rags to riches movie. And I love that King Arthur learns Kung Fu. That's
Oh
not
my
a spoiler.
God.
Yeah, he learns Kung Fu. So it's pretty cool.
So would you
And
say this is a must drink alcohol while watching movie?
no, I wouldn't say that. No, I just, if I'm going to go, I go to a place called Flick's Brew House and they make their own beer in house. And so I have to, when I go there, I have to drink it.
Okay.
So yeah,
Well, you mentioned him learning Kung Fu, so I wondered if it was like kind of poking fun at itself and kind of slapstick and therefore needing alcohol, or whether
needing
it tried to
alcohol.
be serious.
No, there were movies I've had to
Just
have.
don't go to it expecting. Don't go to it expecting like a deep, rich story. None of that. It's just a great action movie. And if you've seen any of Guy Ritchie's movies, whether it's the Sherlock Holmes movies or Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels or Snatch, any of those, that's exactly what you're gonna get, which is a ton of fun for me.
Yeah,
I love the Sherlock Holmes movies.
Me too.
Yeah. So, Andy, what is next on our list for topics?
Well, I was actually today's discussion topic. Raven, in her book A Mask Against Blood, which I just finished in like the last week or something, her main character is Adelaide or Adelaide?
I wrote it as Adelaide, but technically, when you look at phonetics and how language is put together, it's supposed to be Adelaide. That's according to everybody else who's not me. So either will work.
Okay, because I liked Adelaide in my head, but Adelaide is the way that it's written, so I can pronounce it Adelaide fine. So that the Adelaide character, the main character of her book, is an assassin. She's trained as an assassin from birth or from a very young age, and then she finds out about 20% of the way into the book that she's actually. Is it spoiler if I tell what she finds out she is, or is it early enough in the book that it's not a spoiler, Raven?
Hey, you can say it.
Okay, she finds out she's a princess of a neighboring kingdom, and she was stolen from her father and mother at a very young age and raised. And I'm not going to get into why and how, because that's why you read the book. But it was interesting, the dynamic when she goes back home to see her interactions with the people who are flesh and blood, her family, and yet there is this emotional bond with the person who essentially raised her. So it's the like family in the sense that the guy was there, who was present. And I know for a lot of people who grow up, children of divorce or split homes or adopted or foster families, blood has nothing to do with family. In fact, in many cases, blood means less than the person who was there for them. I married a woman. My wife has 4 children, and I've been living with them for 8 years, almost 9 years now. And so, I hope that's got to count for something down the line, that I'm their family, or that they see that, because I've been there for them. And I know that's a very common theme in a lot of movies and TV shows. In one of the Tim Allen Last Man Standing, he actually says, look, a father isn't someone who makes you, it's someone who's there for you when you need them. They show up, and that's all it really takes. So it was really interesting to see that in your book. But tell us more about your backstory, or how that came about to be a theme in
please. I was interested in that as well.
Well, it was kind of an accident to some degree. I knew that I wanted to create an assassin who was supposed to be the best of the best for her age, who was trained from a very young age and believed all the things she's supposed to believe. But I also wanted to give a character like that a vulnerability, something to kind of take her down a peg. Because we see these people in a lot of fantasy, movies and TV shows and books where they're these badass people. But a lot of times they lack what makes us human. And I really wanted to play with that. So I needed a reason for her to be vulnerable. And I was thinking about my own life a little bit, and the fact that when I grew up, my mother was absent. My mother was on drugs, and my parents were divorced. And the only time that she came into my life was really because she wanted money from my father. So it was not a very wholesome or comfortable scenario at all growing up. And I was thinking about my character and going, if I twist things and everything she thinks to be true is not true, and then I throw her in with this family that she never wanted, that she thinks has betrayed her, then I can create that vulnerable moment. And I say this kind of happened by accident because at the time that I was writing this, my mother got off drugs and then came back into my life and wanted a relationship with me, which wasn't something I wanted. I'd gone for 30 something years without a mother. What did I need one now? And I found myself in the position very similar to Adelaide's, where I had this family I didn't want. I suddenly had half sisters and their kids and, all this. And I didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't know if I wanted to deal with that. And so as I was processing that on a personal level, that was coming through in Adelaide's journey and how she's processing everything and what she's doing. And that's kind of how this character happened. And I wasn't intending to put so much of myself in there. It just happened.
Well, I have a question. How long were you writing this manuscript of A Maskin's Blood?
Well, the very first draft I actually wrote in 30 days. It was 90,000 words. I kind of did a NaNoWriMo on crack because I was teaching full time and I was going to grad school, so I was taking 21 graduate hours. And I also decided I'm going to write 90,000 words in a month just to see if I could do it.
You're a beast.
Yeah, I can't.
Machine, Raven. My best is like 120,000 words in 2 months or something.
Yeah, I struggle to do that hardcore these days. I think I write better, so it takes a little longer. But that first draft was a mess. So it went through a couple more drafts before I was happy with it enough to send to an editor. And so I think start to finish, it was probably about a year process.
Okay. And it was in one of those drafts that your mother came back into your life, so it just kind of transformed.
Yeah.
Okay, man, that's our theme today, is family. And it's a theme I honestly did not see coming, but it's weird because it's a theme in my book too, and I didn't even know it. Wow, yeah. In my book, it's about an orphan boy, and he's a different race. He's actually a half breed, and he's hated for it because he was put into an orphanage in the most gruesome of the races, the most mean, and he is saved by an elderly man who becomes like his father for multiple. So he trains him as an assassin, and they fall into this father-son relationship. And I won't give anything away, but I didn't even realize family was a theme in my book until I met you, Raven. So thank you for that. And it's something I'd actually like to play with a little bit more.
Well, oh, sorry, go ahead, Andy.
No, please. You're the one who has wise things to say. I was just going to give an opinion.
Well, it actually is going to continue in book 2 because not her birth father, but her adoptive father, so to speak, in the Amaskins, is going to be one of the point of view characters, because I want to continue exploring, where the boundaries of family really are and how you can push those definitions. And with the things that happen in book 1, it's time to see a little bit of his point of view as well. I'll just leave it at that.
I really liked the character. I mean, it was a bit unusual for the head of the Assassin's Guild to have such an interest in this girl. until I got a little bit more into it, and then I understood the dynamic. The character from my Thieves Guild is a very different relationship between the head of the guild and the main character. You know, it's much more, what can I get out of you, sort of thing. So it was an interesting dynamic to see yours, which is the opposite. You know, it's a much more emotional relationship. But now let me ask you this: do you think it was accurate, given the things that happened to her in her life that led her to this guy, and then what the guy essentially did to have her end up there and all of that? Like, do you think that was, like, looking back on it now, was it an accurate portrayal?
Because I know things you don't in the series arc, yes, it was. Okay. I know that one of the things that I was also looking at with Bredek, the leader, the Grand Master of the Amaskans, was everyone's human, including our villains, including our bad guys, our assassins, whatever, our anti-heroes, dark characters, whatever you want to call them. And so I thought about things like, you know, Maleficent. I mean, who's to say she never wanted kids? What if she'd had a kid? What would that look like? And I really wanted to focus a little bit on that with Bredek. Outside of some of the larger arcs, I kind of wanted to play with the idea that even this horrible guy who did something really horrible to his sister, even he had something in him that went, I could raise this child. I could have a child. And I could shape her in my image, and I could make this badass assassin, but also someone who would love me. And
so he went into it thinking, I can turn her into sort of my, not slave, but sort of someone in my own image.
Initially, with the kidnapping, that was not his intent. But with the events that happened, that became his intent.
Interesting. So when he made a decision logically, or cynically even, and then over time, it sort of became an emotional thing. Mm-hmm. That's cool. I like that. I like that transition, because it's easy to make logical decisions, but then over time, the emotions kind of kick in. I know that's something that I sort of explore in my half demon assassin novel, is that, you know, you go into a situation thinking logically, but it's impossible to take emotions out of it fully.
Exactly. And now it's silent.
I thought we were well, going to a lighter topic than this. We know that Raven is big into tabletop, which caught my attention because I am also into tabletop stuff. And I wanted to know a little bit more about this hobby of yours and what games you like to play.
Sure. So I'm just an all-around gamer, in that I play a lot of things on console and PC and things of that nature. I also play a lot of board games, and I do a lot of, you know, traditional tabletop as well, though my roots in tabletop are pretty old, in that I think I started playing D&D in the early 90s. So, you know,
when it was still 3.
Back in the day. And, you know, things like Vampire the Masquerade and a lot of the old school stuff. Then I stopped playing it for a while, and board games became my huge addiction. I go through and I review a lot of games on my website quite often. But just recently I've picked back up playing Pathfinder, which was interesting because Pathfinder was not something I thought I would like originally. My husband played a lot of Pathfinder, and my first experience playing it actually was with someone who works for Paizo, who will not be named because he probably wants to keep his job. But he was drunk and an asshole. And it actually completely ruined the game for me in such a way that I was like, I am not going to play Pathfinder. Screw this.
Wow. Yeah,
that's what it is. You know, not interested. Then I got hooked back in by a friend who doesn't invite people lightly. It's kind of one of those, if they invite you to their game, you say yes.
Wow, yeah.
And now I'm having a lot of fun. So, you know,
like a secret Pathfinder society.
Yes, just a bit.
Yeah,
And now I'm having lots of fun.
That's my secret handshake.
Yeah, just flapping your hand mercilessly at the camera. That's good.
Yeah,
no.
it looks like flapping to you, but it's not. There's a rhythm.
So now you gotta go like cafefe.
Cafefe.
There you go.
Wow.
Now we have a handshake.
That's what it is.
Yes, that's what it is.
Got it. I just found that out today. I'm a little bit behind on my memes, I guess.
Oh yeah, if only he could be that cool. Anyway,
Yeah.
but no, I'm enjoying the system. I think it has some strengths that D&D lost when it went to 4.0. So I'm kind of happy to see how this is kind of transpiring.
D&D is now 5th edition, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
Wow.
you don't like
I
that?
haven't looked at 5th, and I've heard that
Okay.
it gets better, that they fixed a lot of the flaws that were in 4. I haven't really played
Okay.
it, so I can't say that.
That's the only thing I know. I just know
Yeah.
Pathfinder. None of my friends would play it because they already think D&D has too much stuff. So, but
Yeah, I was invited to a Pathfinder game, and it was like we spent the entire time filling out the character sheet, and I had no idea what was going on.
And that's where Hero Lab is your friend, because it does all of that bullshit for you, so you don't really have to think too hard about that. Because I just want to play. I don't want to sit there and
yeah.
worry about, wait, I got to do what with my character sheet? What? Like, I don't want to deal with that.
Exactly. I approach it the way I play the game. I am a barbarian, and I charge directly at it. So I don't want to spend an hour and a half filling out a character sheet when and I can just make it all up as I go. But,
yeah. No, Hero Lab was amazing. I didn't know about it till my husband showed it to me, and he was like, look, click your character and click this, put in that you have 90 gold or whatever, and then it like fills all this stuff out for you, and you don't have to mess with anything. And when you level up, you click a button that says level up, and it adjusts your stats and asks you questions to adjust the rest of it. And it's like really quick. So instead of an entire afternoon of trying to create a character sheet, it's like 20 minutes.
Oh, they do not have D&D. I'm seeing that now. It's just Pathfinder. Yeah, I don't see it. You would think they would.
They have other games, so you would think they would, but
D&D and Pathfinder is like Coke and Pepsi, or McDonald's and Burger King's. It's sacrilege. DC and Marvel. You cannot be both DC and Marvel.
Sacrilege.
I'm totally DC and Marvel.
You're either Marvel fan or you're wrong. That's just the way it is.
That's funny.
But I like Wonder Woman.
I pick and choose.
It's like Batman, Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
Superman. You can't not like.
They're not really DC.
Yeah, they are. That is what matters. And
I'm super stoked for that Wonder Woman movie.
Oh, I know. I'm so excited.
It's gonna be badass.
And it's according to what I read today, it's the first female directed movie backed by a studio. Like normally other female directed movies, they produce the movie or they make the movie and then they sell it to a studio. This one was backed by the studio and went all the way with a woman. So it's like a record history breaking. I don't know. I can't think properly.
Well, and as of yesterday,
moment.
95% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Whoa, that's hard to do.
And yet I've heard that they're quashing all reviews by the sort of people who usually give more critical reviews. Like they're focusing on the reviews, I think, mainly by companies that are either owned or affiliated with the parent company.
Are they?
So I think they're really like keeping everything under wraps so they can get a big launch, and then with hopefully that it's made enough money that the flaws of the movie, if there are, they don't make such a big difference.
Well, I know Linda Carter gave it her stamp of approval, so I'm pretty much sold.
Yeah.
I just like the action.
Yeah. Speaking of action, we've got some awesome well, I don't know if it's an action scene. Raven, the scene that you sent us no, it's more dialogue, but that's fine. The dialogue is the fun stuff. So we've got how many characters do we have? We've got
King Leon.
And Ida.
Ida. Oh, okay. I want to read Ida.
I'll do
She's
King
cool.
Leon.
Okay, do you want me to do any of the random parts? I don't know if they're actually dialogue of random parts or not.
Well, why don't you be the narrator, and then anything that's not either King Leon or Ida.
Okay, I can do that.
Is King
Actually,
Leon
better
like
yet-
a big fat king?
Is what?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Andy. Is King Leon like a big, like the classic big fat king with the deep voice?
He's a big guy in terms of like being very tall. He's not exactly like jolly fat Santa Claus.
Okay.
But yeah, he's got a fairly deep voice.
Okay.
Tell you what, Raven, you read Ida, and I'll be the narrator and do the other random voices, so you guys can showcase your skills.
Okay.
Sounds good.
It's been a while since I've read her. This will be fun.
Good. Now, what accent is she? Because she always has "ya" in her voice, like when she talks. So what was the accent that you had in your head when you wrote her?
Kind of a clipped, kind of like, gosh, I kind of took a mixture of English and Southern and clipped, impoverished vernacular and kind of threw them all in a blender and created this very weird dialect for her. Because she's had some education and then she's not had a lot of education in other areas. And so she sometimes slips back into her childhood tongue, and some of the yas and some of the other things slip in, and you kind of get this weird hodgepodge.
Awesome.
Very cool. All right. So, Steve, you've got the thing ready to read?
I do.
All right. And here we go. The sleeping woman in his arms shifted, her heel connecting with his shin. The jagged scar to the right of her eye bunched together with worry lines. One of her hands flitted to the scar tissue along her throat, and she whimpered in rhythm to the twitching of the facial muscles around her eyes.
Shh.
King Leon murmured, running his thumb down her jawline. Through the deep blue bed curtains, tiny hints of light streamed in from one of 4 windows, which left most of the room dark in the early dawn. Even with the lack of light, the scar running parallel to her jaw stood out in contrast to the others along her body. The puffy, angry line stretched the full width of her neck from ear to ear. 10 years together, and still she never spoke of it, never talked of the wound that walked in and out of her nightmares. She thought that she'd kept her past from him, but a few paid informants gained the king whatever information he wished. That, and the fact that she talked in her sleep. A smile lifted the corners of his thin lips as he stared at the woman wrapped beneath the heavy winter blankets. His thumb froze at the shift in her breathing, and he peered down to find blue eyes staring up at him. Instead of their usual humor, the deep blue pools were haunted by shadows, and the smile fell from his lips.
What is it, Ida? What's bothering you so? Was it something in Sadai? Is that right, Sadai?
Yes, Sadai.
Okay.
I begged you not to send me.
The scar across her throat jumped when she spoke, and her voice resembled gravel. You have to make your voice more gravel.
I know, gravel, gravel, gravel.
Since when has my Sipier been afraid of anything?
The former captain of the Royal Guard didn't answer as another tear slid down a cheek more gaunt than it had been a few months before.
Ida, love, I know you hate Sadai, but we all must make sacrifices for duty.
Her body stilled while long, pale fingers gripped the bedsheets.
You know nothing.
Jon Snow.
Yeah,
Sorry, I had to do it.
Totally.
that's pretty much guaranteed. Leon didn't know what shocked him more, that she was angry with him or that she was afraid.
'Twas a mistake to return to Sadai,
She whispered.
I sent a woman I trust into that country, a tenacious spy who feared nothing, and she returned to me broken. I was going to wait until the sun rose before asking for your report, but considering your tears, I have to ask, what happened? What brought you back early and afraid?
Ida rose from the bed, her bare feet picking their way across the clothing strewn haphazardly on the floor from a few hours before when she'd returned. The look on her face had led him to ask no questions, but as she stood in the sprinkling of sunlight the morning brought, the dread seeped into Leon's bones. Her 50 years did little to mar her body, but a decade of leading battles had left scars of plenty across her frame. And Leon frowned to see a fresh mark across her thigh, its scab already sloughing off and healing.
I failed you, your majesty.
Were you not successful then in finding the location of the Order of Amaska?
Her lips trembled.
I was successful, Your Majesty.
King Leon sucked air through clenched teeth much too fast, and the ever-present congestion in his lungs leapt forth. Another coughing spasm whipped through him. Stars danced before his eyes, and Ida's footsteps sounded nearby. Shortly after, she pressed the mug into his waiting hands. Some of the medicine sloshed out of the cup before it found his lips, and several swallows later, the spasm passed, leaving hope in its wake.
Where is the Order located?
Sire, there's more.
Where are they?
They're near the coast, near the town of Hythe.
He was 2 feet out of bed and halfway to the door before she remembered the need for clothing, and despised his bruised lungs. He quickly dug through his clothes chest. Leon seized the first clothes his fingers touched, an old pair of breeches, a touch too loose at the waist, and an undershirt that bore a hole from a moth. He didn't care what he looked like. After 13 years, he had finally found the men who had massacred his family. His giddy footsteps carried him across the room where he rang for a page. When the boy appeared, Leon said,
I need Captain Fenton brought to my sitting room immediately.
When the door shut behind the young page, Leon haphazardly dug through a box of letters.
Once Michael arrives, you'll tell us both about their location. We have plans to make.
There's more, and you must hear it alone.
When he faced her again, she knelt on the stone floor, and her shoulder-length hair spilled limply across her face.
What more is there? After 13 years, I finally have the location of the bastards. Today is a good day, Ida. Today I will have my revenge.
We march across the day's borders to take it?
If necessary.
You'd bring the wrath of the Boheme Senate down upon us? Would you rip this land apart again for another pointless war?
King Leon took her hands into his own as he knelt down beside her.
I thought you would understand this. Those bastards killed my wife, my daughter. What else would you have me do? The Boheme?
Boheme?
The Boheme Senate has done nothing to stop the Amaskans. If they won't seek justice, then I will.
The knock at the door interrupted them, and as Leon rose from his knees, Ida seized the edge of his shirt.
You think you've the whole of it, but you must hear me out. Please, send the good captain away till you've heard the truth.
Speak.
King Leon sighed.
Oh, sorry. Speak. Tell me what has kept you tossing in your sleep.
At first, she didn't make a sound, choosing instead to stare at the carved pieces of wood inlaid in stone across his bedchamber floor, and he ground his teeth in silence. When his lips smacked open, she said,
I never intended to hurt you. Know that I'd no idea what they'd planned, I swear to you. But I found, in Sade, your daughter's alive. Ileana's alive.
This time, when the air left him, he worried it would not return as his lungs froze in place. He sputtered twice before his vocal cords worked again.
You speak madness. She died by Amaskan hands.
I believed it too, Your Majesty, but I swear to you that I saw your daughter alive and well. You sent me home to find those responsible for her death, but she's alive and in Aruna. It's her. I'd swear my life on it.
Leon gripped the handle on the door as he squeezed his eyes shut.
I sent her away for protection, and the Amaskans killed her outside the city walls. That's what Goafrin told me.
Bastard's a traitor.
King Leon heaved her to her feet by her bare shoulders. Rough hands tilted her face to look at his, but even then, her eyes veered sideways. She refused to meet his gaze.
You speak in riddles. You tell me my daughter's alive. You tell me you have the location of my enemies, and that my most trusted advisor's a traitor? You will explain yourself and how you know this to be true.
Joffrin's my uncle.
Joffrin.
Was sent here to get close to your father to gain the royal family's trust, and then to give evidence to interested parties of your family's coup to overthrow the Boheme Senate.
As the words spilled from her mouth, she stepped sideways as his balance wavered. 3 steps found him alongside the bed he'd shared with Ida minutes before, and he reached out to one of the 4 bedposts. His aim was true, but he stubbed his big toe on the chest at the foot of the bed. Leon cursed under his breath.
I grew up in a family that told me things that make it easy for me to believe that my own actions were just and true. When the little war of 3 began, It was a perfect opportunity. Uncle Joffrin and my brother sent 3 of us here to Alesta.
King Leon dropped the letter in his hand.
Our task was simple. While the king was busy with the enemy at his border, we'd take the child Uncle Joffrin arranged for us to protect.
No.
The single word sent her blue eyes to drown in unshed tears.
I swear to you, Leon, I didn't know what they planned. No one said they were to kill her. I thought...
You thought what exactly? You would kidnap my children and wife? My family? To do what exactly? Go for a walk in the woods? Who the hell are you to take part in such a...
This time when he shook her, the tears fled their prison and leapt across her cheeks.
That's what you are. You're a maskin.
He whispered. The quiet anger within left him breathless, yet he lifted her off her feet before he flung her to the floor with a snarl.
Who are you? What are you to crawl into my bed, into my heart, for 10 years?
The knock at the door startled them both. Your Majesty?
Send the captain away.
She hissed from where she'd fallen, her robe torn where she'd tripped over it.
Why should I do anything you ask?
Because I'm the only one who knows where your daughter is.
Boom.
Boom. Dramatic
Beautiful.
reveal. Well
So
done.
good.
I am so not an actress at
It
all.
was
By any
good.
stretch of the imagination.
It was
Because
so
I can
good.
tell the thing I sent you came out of Scrivener instead of my final copy, because there were areas where I was like, oh yeah, that's a typo I fixed, and that's a this I was like, shit.
Scrivener is... whenever I try and transfer from Scrivener to Word, I see so many issues. So, and it's sad when editors or somebody wants a sample and they want it in Word. I'm like, it's going to be kind of hard. I prefer PDF.
I do too, which is what I sent Andy, and he was like, no, send it in Word.
I hate PDF.
Andy.
That is my
Andy.
You can't do anything with PDF. You just click on it and it opens, and you can't edit. You can't do anything.
Well, you can if you have Acrobat Pro.
That's true.
That's true.
But I don't, I'm poor.
Yeah.
Adobe likes my money.
Yes,
Yeah,
I understand that one.
Well, I got to
All right,
say,
so Raven, tell us about this book. Tell us like everything about it. Give us the blurb and the background and all of the fun stuff that we want to hear about it.
So Adelaide is Namaskin. She was, as we've talked about, she was kidnapped at an early age, and the only family she's known has been the Amaskins. And they're kind of this mix of monk and assassin. They have a very particular holy code that they live by. So she thinks that she is a good guy, and that the things she's doing and the people she's killing are people the gods want killed. And
Which was very cool, by the way. I loved that concept.
the entire society lives by something called the 13. There are 13 gods and there are 13 laws. And it's things that you would expect to see, like, don't kill people, don't rape people, things of that nature. Yeah. And in this world, there used to be one kingdom, Boheme, and it split into 13 kingdoms. And so you have all of these different kingdoms that they do rule themselves, but there's also kind of like, I call it my oversight committee, the Boheme Senate, and their job is to make sure that the kings are also following the 13. That just because you're a king doesn't mean that you can get away with murder, which is really hard to do when you're a king. And so Adelaide is sent into the hands of her worst enemy, which happens to be her father. Their kingdom is a sworn enemy of the Amaskins and Sedai. So it's kind of one of those things where she thinks it is a suicide mission. And even worse, when she gets there, she discovers her job is to protect this spoiled brat princess. And it's not the kind of job that an assassin or an Amaskin, would do. Bodyguard occasionally, sure, but this just kind of goes beyond that. And that's when she discovers, some of the secrets about her past, that she was kidnapped, that it wasn't, she thought her father had sold her to the Amaskins. And she discovers that, these people are her blood relatives that she's supposed to be protecting.
Mhm.
And you kind of see this with the spoiled princess learning how to be strong from Adelaide, and Adelaide understanding how to be a little more vulnerable from the princess. And so there's this kind of bizarre twist in their arcs. And
That's cool.
as she goes about protecting this princess, more of the truth comes out about Amaskans and about her own past until, things happen at the end.
Yeah,
Fair
and then the book ends.
Yeah.
Hey, Raven, do you have a hard, like an actual copy of the book with you?
Yeah.
Why don't you show us it? Because it's a beautiful cover. Absolutely. Actually, it's gorgeous. Who did this book cover?
So this is done by a cover artist in the UK called Jamie Noble, the Noble Artist. He does a lot of book covers for small press and indie and also tabletop games, I will have you know. He is very big deal over there and hard to schedule at times. But he did book 1, which was an amazing cover. He also did the cover for book 2, which I don't have because I'm in the middle of major rewriting on book 2 right now. But I can shoot that image to Andy at some point, and you guys can link to it or whatever. But yeah, the covers are kind of cool because book 1, this is Adelaide, and book 2 is the princess on the cover, and their faces fit together.
Ooh.
And it does this really cool effect. And
Awesome.
then book 3, which I have the cover for it, have not revealed and will not reveal till later this year, continues the picture further. So
awesome.
when they're done, the trilogy will actually make one larger picture.
So it's going to be 3.
Yeah.
That's good. And finally, an author who can just write a trilogy instead of
Yes.
going, 4, 7. I mean, I'm 6, so I'm no one to talk, obviously.
Yeah, that's great.
Ida does get her own spin-off book because
good.
I've made that promise.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And more of how she got that puffy scar across her throat.
I love that. I love the character of Ida, this sort of an older woman who is strong and confident and competent. I've got a character like that in my Hunter series that's gonna show up again, and it's just such a great thing because you always have the older grizzled male veteran, but you don't have the female veteran of the war. So kudos to you on bringing that character in.
Yeah.
I have to ask. The term Sedai, does that have anything to do with Wheel of Time?
Not at all. Is there something from Wheel of Time in that?
The Aes Sedai, the female magicians, basically.
I only made it through the first 2 books before I got bored, so no, I didn't even think about it. Each of the kingdoms in this world has their own culture, and linguistically and culturally, I base them off of different things. So Sedai is very Hebrew based, which is where the Amaskans are. So a lot of their language is Hebrew roots. And so that's where Sedai comes from. That's also where Boheme comes from. Alexander, where her birth family is very French English. And there are other areas that are Indian, and there's some that are a little more, I guess, Hindu based. So like I've kind of pulled various bits and pieces, and they're not so based that they will be like cultural appropriation, just more of a loose, I wanted to do something linguistically and have something there.
Yeah, there's a word for that. It's not patchwork. There's a word that describes it perfectly, but I can't think of it. Now what I did when I was writing some of my books is that I actually used Google Translate to find words sort of similar to what I wanted to say, and either just use the word directly or adapted it slightly. Did you do the same with?
I adapted it slightly. Yeah, I actually, when I was an undergrad and looking at getting a degree in English because I was teaching English, I took a lot of classes in linguistics. And before that, when I was a music major, because I was a music major for 3.5 years, I took a lot of classes in diction. And so I've got a background in how language develops. And I did something similar where the languages I wasn't familiar with, I did use some Google Translate, but I didn't keep them the same. I would tweak them, but still keep the structure of what linguistically that would happen.
That's awesome. The word that I was thinking of is pastiche. You made a pastiche of these different cultures in your work, using elements of it drawn from these different sources, but not cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
What you said. That's awesome. All right, we are coming to the end of our time. So Raven, why don't you tell us where we can find you and your books and your everything about you?
Well, my books are available in print and ebook form on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Powell's, IndieBound, Kobo, iTunes, you name it, it's there. And that's pretty much worldwide. You should be able to pretty much walk into most bookstores and get it. And then in terms of where I am, I'm at ravenoak.net because some idiot in China owns .com and wants me to pay him $10 million for the domain, and no, I won't.
That's a deal.
Yeah, 10 million. Yeah. So ravenoak.net, and then I'm on social media on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, YouTube, LinkedIn, you name it. If you just go to my website, there's a whole bunch of icons, and you can kind of find me from there.
I know I'm going to do it. So, hey, you're in your hair. Is that a raven?
No, this is a Ravenclaw.
Oh,
so,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
sort of.
Okay,
yeah,
Ravenclaw.
I accidentally cosplayed today, so I'm wearing a Ravenclaw sweater. Yeah.
Accidentally on purpose.
Well, I put the sweater on because it was actually chilly, and then I went, well, I'm just going to go ahead and continue with the headband. And yeah.
Are you truly Ravenclaw from Pottermore?
I am.
You're lucky. Well, I'm Gryffindor, so.
Well, I suspected it went, your name's Raven? You know, rather than actually paying attention. But I am a pretty book smart person, so that's possible too.
You definitely, I definitely see you as a Ravenclaw for sure. Andy,
I have a feeling I'm a Hufflepuff.
I was gonna say Hufflepuff, no, but it was a joke though.
No, but that's the thing is, I think I'm like half Gryffindor, a third Ravenclaw, and a third Hufflepuff.
You're a mutt.
And I think it would be much more Hufflepuff, unfortunately.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with Hufflepuffs. They have a big part in the final book. So
they do.
Absolutely.
They do.
So, and it's a badass ending too.
Oh my God, is it?
Yeah, I cried a little bit.
Yeah.
So, well, Raven, I have had a wonderful time speaking to you, and I know Andy has. I know y'all have met before, so it's a pleasure meeting you.
Indeed.
And I'm excited to hear more about your books and your future upcoming books. I'm also going to go and follow you and add you on all my social medias. So, and I'd love to have you back on here because from our talk here, I could see a lot more themes, many more themes in the future that we could discuss. So
I'm good at talking.
Yeah. So are Andy and I.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, when you have book 2 ready to come out, shoot me an email or a text and we can have you back on because I would like to continue exploring these different themes. You are the deep sort of author that I like reading and talking to. So
definitely like a book launch episode.
Right now it's looking like December.
Okay.
December. Yeah. December should be pretty well. Hopefully December. I know we're pretty booked solid until October, November, but probably December should be free.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Raven. It was
no
super
problem.
awesome
Thank
to have
you.
On.
Thank you, Raven.
It's great to be here.
Well, guys, that was our final fantasy. No, dang it, Raven, you got me on that. Now I want to go play it again. This was an episode of the Fantasy Fiends podcast. We really hope you enjoy it. Next time, we will be having our guest author. Who, Andy?
Oh boy,
I didn't mean to do that to you. Either way, it's going to be another good author. So.
It's Justin Sloan.
Justin Sloan. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. So we hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we want to thank Raven again for joining us today, and we wish her the best of luck. Ravenclaw. No, Gryffindor.
Hufflepuff.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody has to say Slytherin. Anyway.
Slytherin.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, guys.